You didn't open this video by chance. In the last 3 days, something has changed within you, and you probably can't name it yet. A silent unease with no apparent cause. Thoughts that always return to the same place, even when you try to distract yourself. A physical sensation almost in your chest that a threshold is near, a turning point that is already forming even before it happens. This is not a coincidence, it's not random anxiety, and it's not the algorithm picking any video to show you. This is recognition. And that's what we're going to talk about now, because on July 14th, a new moon will open a door. And before that door opens, there are 7 energies you need to release, or this new opportunity will pass you by, just as it has before. Faced with this type of event, humanity has always divided itself into 2 groups without exception. The sleeping majority will feel this energy coming, will feel their bodies heavier, their sleep stranger, their minds more confused, and will attribute all of this to work stress, accumulated fatigue, just a bad day. For these people, the window will close exactly as it always has, silently, without drama, without warning. They will continue exactly where they are, repeating the same cycle, without understanding why life always seems stuck at the same point. But there is a second layer of people, a minority that carries a different internal infrastructure, a capacity to perceive what lies behind the discomfort, and it is for this minority that this video was made. If you've come this far and felt that these words describe exactly what you're experiencing, you already know which group you belong to. Before we continue, it's important to de-romanticize what is about to happen. A lunar portal is not a beautiful astronomical event that will descend from the sky and fix your life. That is fantasy. It's the diluted and comfortable version that keeps people passive, waiting for something external to do the work that can only be done from within. The truth is rawer, and at the same time, more powerful. A portal is the exact point where the cost of continuing to be stuck in your current reality finally becomes greater than the fear of taking the next step. It's when the pain of staying outweighs the terror of changing. And then only then you take the step, and the ground appears beneath your feet. Never before. The new moon of July 14th will do nothing for you that you don't do yourself first. It opens the door. Crossing it is your decision. And this is precisely where the most common mistake of those who work with lunar cycles lies, believing that the most important thing is to ask, to define desires, write beautiful intentions, visualize a shining future. This has value, but it is the easiest part, and alone almost always useless, because a house doesn't receive new furniture if it's still full of old, broken furniture piled up in every corner. Before asking the universe for anything new, you need to make physical and energetic space for that new thing to land. The days leading up to the 14th are not for wishing. They are for emptying. And emptying hurts more than dreaming, which is why most people avoid this work and continue spinning in the same place, year after year, moon after moon, always asking, never letting go. The first energy that needs to be released is the emotional baggage of the past. Stop for a second and observe. There are memories you've carried for years, as if they were a backpack full of stones on your back. An argument that was never resolved. A version of yourself that was humiliated, ignored, or abandoned at some point in life, and never received the necessary care to truly heal. Each of these memories, each of these poorly healed wounds, occupies real space within your energetic field. Like a locked drawer you don't open because you're afraid of what you'll find inside. The problem is that this locked drawer consumes energy even when closed. It's like leaving an app running in the background, on the phone. It doesn't show up on the screen, but it's draining the battery the whole time. Your energy works exactly like this. You might be smiling, working, following your routine normally, and still operating at a fraction of your real capacity, because a part of you remains stuck in a moment that should have been left behind. The days before the new moon are the ideal time to open that drawer, look inside without drama, and without repeating the story one more time. It's not about reliving the suffering. It's about recognizing that it exists, naming what still hurts, and consciously deciding that it won't carry over with you to the next cycle. Releasing emotional baggage isn't forgetting, it's stopping the nourishment. It's like loosening the rope of a boat that's no longer going anywhere, just swaying tied to the same dock, wasting its strength against the tide. When you release that rope, it's not weakness, it's the only real way to let the current carry you somewhere new. I know reading this is easy, but doing it alone, without structure, without method, is where most people get stuck. Recognizing the wound is the first step, but without a clear path to process it, it simply closes up again, and you arrive at the next new moon carrying the same weight as before. That's why I prepared Magia em 28 Exercícios as 28 Chaves do Despertar for you. It's not a theoretical course on pretty spirituality. It's a structured 28-day journey, aligned with a full lunar cycle, created specifically for people who feel they carry more than they can name, people who feel different, overwhelmed, lost within their own lives, and who know deep down that there's a truer direction waiting to be recognized. Each of the 28 keys was designed to transform the restlessness you feel now into clear language, the shadow you avoid into awareness, and the confusing signals from your body and intuition into real practical decisions that change the direction of your life off-screen. This is the difference between knowing you need to let go and actually letting go. In the first pinned comment of this video, you'll find the path to begin. If you feel you are ready to stop carrying what should have been left in the past, comment "Ready now" before continuing to watch. This comment isn't just a word, it's an energetic commitment to yourself. It's the first real decision in this process of letting go. Returning to what matters now. After the emotional baggage of the past, there's a second energy that needs to be recognized and released before the 14th, and this is, without exaggeration, the most self-sabotaging of all: the fear of the unknown. This fear rarely appears by that name. It disguises itself as responsibility, as "I'm just being realistic," as "it's not the right time yet." But behind these well-behaved phrases lies an ancient and primitive mechanism. The human brain prefers familiar suffering to the unknown possibility, even when that possibility is objectively better. It's an evolutionary miscalculation. What we already know, even if it hurts, feels safe, because we already know how to survive within it. What we haven't lived yet, even if it's exactly what we prayed for, feels dangerous, simply because it's new. This fear of the unknown manifests as an obsessive need to control every variable before acting. You want to know exactly how everything will end before taking the first step. You want guarantees that life simply doesn't offer anyone. And while waiting for these guarantees, time passes, lunar cycles repeat, and reality remains exactly the same, because a new reality requires movement before certainty, never after. Think of a child learning to walk. They don't wait for perfect balance before taking the first step. They fall, adjust their body in the air, learn by falling. If they waited for the certainty of balance, they would never walk. A good portion of adults spiritual people say to forget this basic principle and treat their own evolution as if it were possible to evolve without ever losing balance, without ever falling, without ever feeling lost for even a second. Before the July new moon, the task is not to eliminate fear, because that is impossible, and anyone who promises that is lying. The task is to stop giving fear the power of decision. It is to recognize fear, to feel it pulsing in your chest, and still take the step because, as we've said, the ground only appears afterwards. This is the true meaning of releasing the need for control. It is not relaxing and leaving everything to chance. It is trusting that you have the capacity to adapt to whatever comes, even without knowing exactly what will come. The third energy that needs to be released before the portal opens resides in an even quieter place: the mind. Repetitive thoughts, limiting beliefs, internal phrases that you no longer even notice you are repeating because they have become automatic, like background music playing softly all the time. This never works out for me. People like me can't achieve this kind of change. I've tried before and it didn't work. Each of these phrases is an instruction given directly to your reality. The human mind works like a navigation system. It doesn't judge whether the route you've entered is good or bad for you. It simply charts the most efficient path to the entered destination. If the entered destination, repeated every day through these automatic beliefs, is limitation, the mind will find with frightening efficiency all possible routes to keep you exactly there. Before the 14th, the mental work is not to think positive in an empty way, because that too is a form of avoiding the real process. The work is to audit, with honesty, which thoughts you repeat on autopilot and ask, is this belief mine, born from my own direct experience? Or was it inherited from someone who also never questioned? Many of the limitations we carry are not ours. They are emotional inheritances from parents, grandparents, entire environments that learn to survive by lowering their own expectations. And inheritance, contrary to what one might think, can be refused. You can consciously decide not to accept a belief just because it was passed down as if it were absolute truth. This process of mental deconstruction is exactly one of the central pillars of Magia em 28 Exercícios, as 28 Chaves do Despertar. Each exercise was structured to dismantle, one by one, the thought patterns that keep you repeating the same result, even after changing jobs, cities, relationships. Because the problem was never the external scenario, it was always the internal software running behind every decision. It is the necessary bridge between knowing theoretically that thought creates reality and effectively reprogramming day after day within a guided path what your mind repeats automatically. If you have already noticed while reading these last paragraphs some limiting phrase that you repeat without realizing it, the first pinned comment takes you directly into this path. The window is open now, not later. Returning to the main thread, after releasing the emotional baggage of the past, the fear of the unknown, and limiting mental beliefs, it's time to look outwards, to the connections and situations that have already served their purpose in your life. This is, for many people, the most painful energy to recognize because it involves real people, real bonds, stories built with time and genuine affection. But there is a truth that needs to be said plainly. Not every bond was made to last a lifetime, and this is no one's fault. It is simply the cyclical nature of existence. Some people enter your life for a specific season, to teach a specific lesson, to accompany a specific version of you that is already ceasing to exist. When that season ends, and you insist on maintaining the bond out of fear, guilt, or habit, you are not preserving love. You are holding on to a corpse that should have already been buried with dignity. The same applies to environments, jobs, cities, entire routines that served a real purpose at a certain moment, and that today exist only out of inertia. Think of a snake shedding its skin. It doesn't keep the old skin out of nostalgia, because it knows instinctively that continuing inside it would mean suffocation and death, not protection. The old skin served its purpose, protected the body as it grew, and now it needs to be left behind precisely so that growth can continue. Before the 14th, ask yourself with brutal honesty, what people, environments, or routines in my life today are old skin? What am I still protecting out of fear of being exposed, and not because it still truly serves any function in my evolution? Recognizing this does not mean acting impulsively or cruelly, cutting ties abruptly and carelessly. It simply means stopping the internal denial of what you already know, because denial is what truly closes the door. You can maintain respect and gratitude for all that a person or a phase represented, and still recognize that that chapter is closed. Releasing space is what allows new experiences, new people aligned with the version you are becoming, to have a place to arrive. There is no entrance without a corresponding exit. That is an almost physical law of any living system. There are still 3 energies that need to be recognized before the portal of the 14th closes, and each of them alone is capable of completely locking the entry of anything new. The first of these is guilt. Guilt for past decisions, guilt for having hurt someone, guilt for not having done enough, guilt even for wanting more than you already have. Guilt functions as an emotional anchor. It keeps the person stuck at a fixed point in the past, unable to move forward because a part of them is still paying mentally for something that has already happened and cannot be changed. Carrying guilt indefinitely is not responsibility. It is self-punishment disguised as moral conscience. The second energy is the feeling of scarcity, that deep belief that there is never enough. Enough time, enough money, enough love, enough opportunities. Scarcity operates as a filter that distorts the perception of reality, making you see closed doors where in fact there are only half-open doors waiting to be pushed. A mind in scarcity, even when faced with a real opportunity, will find 100 reasons to distrust it because believing in abundance seems too dangerous for someone who only knows lack. The third and last of these energies is the resistance to receiving positive changes, and this is perhaps the most ironic of all. Many people ask for transformation, but when transformation begins to knock on the door, the body reacts with discomfort, sabotage, inexplicable procrastination, as if the new, even if good, were still threatening just because it is different from the known. It is the same mechanism as the fear of the unknown, but applied specifically to the positive. There is a primitive part in each person that distrusts even their own luck. Guilt, scarcity, and resistance to the positive form, together, an almost perfect locking system. And it is precisely this system that prevents so many people from crossing lunar portals year after year without any real change in their lives. Recognizing these three energies, naming them without shame is what begins to disarm this lock. It was precisely thinking about this type of deep pattern, difficult to see alone because it operates in the background of the mind, that Magia em 28 Exercícios, as 28 Chaves do Despertar, was built as a complete journey and not as an isolated tip. You don't dismantle 30 years of conditioning with a 10-minute video. You dismantle it with a structured process day by day within an entire lunar cycle, exactly as nature operates, in phases, not in leaps. Each key in the journey directly attacks one of these patterns: guilt, scarcity, resistance, unrecognized shadow, so that when the next energetic window opens, you are no longer locked out. The first pinned comment has everything you need to start today before this specific window closes. Don't postpone what your intuition is already asking for now. We then arrive at the point where all this clearing needs to transform into active, conscious preparation to receive the new stage that the new moon on July 14th represents. It's not enough to let go. You must also intentionally make space, and this happens through 4 simple yet profoundly effective movements when practiced with genuine presence. The first is silent reflection, setting aside time, even if short, to mentally review everything discussed so far, without haste, without judgment, simply observing honestly what still weighs you down. The second is the energetic cleansing of the physical environment where you live, because the external space is always a mirror of the internal space, and physically organizing what surrounds you helps the mind understand, in concrete terms, that a new phase is beginning. The third movement is the clear definition of intentions, not vague and generic desires, but specific intentions, written down, felt in the body, about what you truly want to receive in this new cycle that is starting. And the fourth, perhaps the most subtle of all, is the connection with your own intuition, that silent knowledge that already knew, even before this video began, that something was about to change. The new moon in July represents, yes, a new door, but no door opens by itself for those who remain inside, sitting and waiting. The internal preparation we discussed today, letting go of the past, fear, limiting beliefs, bonds that have served their purpose, guilt, scarcity, and resistance to good, is precisely what separates those who will walk through this door towards a different reality from those who will remain outside, feeling the energy shift without understanding why, once again. What you have heard so far was the preparation. The final revelation about what this window concretely means for your new life is in the video that has now appeared on your screen. Click on it before the impulse passes, because the first 60 seconds of this next video will change the direction of your timeline. And before you leave here, write in the comments, "I am one of the 1440," if you feel you didn't find this broadcast by chance, and that this window, for you, has already begun. If you are not yet subscribed to this channel, understand something important. Each video here is not an isolated piece of content. It is a coordinate within a much larger map, the map of this year, of this portal, of this entire energetic window that is opening in stages. Those who do not subscribe receive only loose fragments of this map, without context, without sequence, without understanding how each piece connects to the next. The next videos will show exactly what happens after this door on the 14th opens, and losing this sequence means losing the entire context of your own journey. Subscribe now, activate the notification bell, and continue with us within this map, because the next coordinate is already waiting for you.